Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our CELPIP Speaking Series, the best that we have got, and you don't need any other resource if you're following this series. Today is part 2 out of 4. I'll paste the links for parts 1, 3, and 4 in the description, so you have everything you need to nail parts 1 to 8 in your CELPIP speaking exam. Today, we're going to be discussing question number 3 and 4, the picture questions, which drive people crazy because there are too many explanations online. However, I'm going to simplify everything here for you today. This is a type of picture that you can expect in your speaking exam, and you get different types of pictures with a lot of things happening in the background and the foreground. Basically, what you got to do is describe the picture. Now, it's very important that when you're answering this question in the preparation time, you do a little analysis. And here you want to see what is the most important aspect of this picture. For me, it's this gentleman in the center because he is the center of attraction with this bigger emphasis, and also he is in the foreground, which is usually the most important part of your picture. Then I want to see the second most important thing, which to me, based on my analysis, is going to be these kids because they're making a little bit of a ruckus on the bottom right hand side of the picture. Then what's the third thing? I think it's probably this lady. I could talk about her because she's also in the foreground. She has some expressions on her face that I would like to point out. And then I want to assume that this is all the time I'm going to get. Hopefully I can talk more, but a lot of people run into that time issue, which is why we got to prioritize. If the time runs out, I want to get the 3 most important things done. But fortunately, if I'm doing it right, I should have more time on my hands. And then I want to look at something which could be a backup point. If I have extra time, I could say that point, or the last point if I'm managing the time wisely. And in the background, whatever else I can see, I can talk about that as my last point. Now, let's get started with the intro. How do you start? There are multiple ways. You can start by saying, in this image, I can notice. From this photo, I can observe. This image captures, or this photo illustrates. So let's say we start with the first one. In this image, I can notice, and then you're going to point out to the main person in the picture. A young gentleman who's standing in the middle of the street playing a guitar with a wide smile on his face. As he is doing this, he is captivating the attention of many around him, especially the kids dancing in the foreground. Notice how we're using a combination of complex clauses. We're not doing simple sentences, and you want to do a mixture of simple and complex sentences, and that's what we're trying to do here using good vocabulary words and phrases. Then, before we talk about the next thing, we have a giveaway for you. We're giving away our free mock tests platform with the CELPIP exam simulator. All you got to do to get this is comment down below, like the video, we'll select lucky winners, and you will get this platform for free. Moving on to the video and the picture. We're going to go to our next key point, which in this case was this thing on the bottom right hand side. I'm going to say here, moreover, I'm going to use a connector to go to this part. Moreover, towards the right-hand side, some overactive kids can be noticed almost trying to play with the food. Now here, notice how in every description you want to use adjectives to define the type of people. Overactive, happy, sad. And also, I'm using passive voice here by saying can be noticed instead of I can see. Now, going towards my next key point, I'll talk about this lady. Likewise, once again, using a connector to get to the next point. There is a lady on the left-hand side. Again, always point out the directions, left hand, right hand side. Joyfully, expressions, watching as the kids dance. She is likely their mother. You can make assumptions too, and this is, you can see, a combination of a complex and a simple sentence, which is a must for your vocab mark. Now, assuming I have time towards the end, my last sentence would reflect anything happening in the background. In much the same way, notice how the connector now is different. It is a phrase, which is giving me my marks for the range of vocab. The optimistic nature of the picture extends in the background with a large crowd engaged in buying items from the stalls with warm yellow lights hanging just above them. That's it. And we are done here. This is the final sentence, and your final sentence should look something like a conclusion where you're not adding an extra point, but you're wrapping up the idea. Like, this is it, the warm lights are hanging above them, and that's it. There's nothing much to describe after this. You can add a therefore, hence, overall, but you don't need to, and I'll tell you towards the end of this video why you shouldn't. It's a better idea to not do it. Now, let's jump to question number 4, and this is where I'll answer that conclusion part. This is the next question, but you will see the same picture. What the exam is asking you now to do is predict what do you think will happen next in the picture. Once again, let's talk about our intro. How do we start? Remember, we are predicting what is going to happen. So you can say something like, it seems highly probable that in the next few moments, something will happen. Based on the details in the picture, I can reasonably predict that the scene strongly suggests that what will unfold next is, or I think the next thing that will probably happen is. So those are your starting sentences that you can use. Pick any one, then go to the main point. Once again, these main key points and backup points remain the same. All we got to do now is predict what's going to happen. Now we're going to say the gentleman will simply continue to draw a bigger crowd courtesy of his charm and positive presence. Notice that we're just predicting based on whatever we think is going to happen. There's no right or wrong answer. And we're using complex words, advanced phrasing. We're using things like charm and presence to define what he is doing. And also we're saying that this is the future tense. This will happen. This may happen. This will likely happen. The kids will still continue to be the center of attention alongside him. Good. The next key point, we'll talk about these kids towards the bottom right-hand side. On the contrary, changing up the stance, changing up my point. With so much attention being diverted to the gentleman, the stalls on the right might see a traffic drop as people instead flock over to the live entertainment. So now we're seeing something opposite, which is nice because it adds more depth to your vocab. You're predicting something opposite happening too. Then you go towards your next key point. When this happens, again, talking about the flow, the time, you can also say things like at this time, after this, soon after. So in this case, when this happens, the lady on the left might actually start getting concerned about her children's safety with this many people surrounding them. All right, we talked about her. We also mentioned what she would feel. And our last one towards the end. Finally, I don't expect much to change in the background, as crowds walking back and forth is the norm in these types of scenes. That's it. That's your final sentence towards the back. You don't expect much change. And now we're going to do the conclusion. So here, if you do a concluding sentence, something like, that is what I expect to take place in the scene. Now you are showing the examiner that in one picture question, part 3, you decided not to do the conclusion, but wrap up your idea with the final sentences looking like the final sentences. However, here you are doing the conclusion, showing that you have a range of structures and answers. There are multiple conclusions you can do, of course. That is the outcome I believe will follow in this picture. That's the way I anticipate the situation will unfold. This is what I predict will occur next here. Or that's the scenario I see happening immediately afterward. Use any one of these or be creative and invent your own, but they should be better or equal to the quality that you see on your screen. And with that said, we are done with our 2 pictures. Parts 3 and 4 of this series are coming up very soon. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and you'll be notified. And check out all the other useful links in the description. Until next time, see you soon.